That should be settled now.
Sweet. Awesome. All right, if you're ready, I'm ready.
Yep.
Cool. All right. This is Clay Mobley with Mobley Motorsport. We're kicking things off with Erik. How do you say your last name? Czajkowski?
Yeah. Yeah. Czajkowski. It's a good, strong Polish name.
Heck yeah. You know, I think the only thing I know about Poland is their sausage.
Well, I'm a youngster in the generation line. My granddad was born here in the States, so I didn't get a lot of Polish learning other than a few cuss words that I've probably forgotten by now. But yeah, it's a cool culture. I'd love to go there someday.
Yeah, no, totally. I'm on both sides pretty Irish. But they're the poor Irish, so they moved here, 150 years ago.
That's right.
They built everything,
That's right.
and now they live up in the mountains.
Right on.
So you and I met at the VIR 24, which I think may be the last VIR 24. That's what it sounds like.
That's what I had heard. Yeah, I got to meet you at the Champ Car race. It was my first race, so I was kind of like trying to figure out how I would do that event better the following year, only to find out that, sounds like the rumor mill is they're going to be moving Champ Car, maybe 24, to another event. But I'm glad I got to see the farewell swan song there. But it was a cool time. It was my very first experience at Champ Car.
Yeah, but it's not your first race. It's just your first endurance.
That's right. Yeah. So I've mainly been doing sprint racing, went up through kind of the club ranks, as a lot of folks do. And I was used to going out there and just blistering pace as much as I could for 8 or 9 laps, 30 minutes, and just taking things when you can. And then, I was shown a whole new side of things when I went to the endurance race. Very, very different, and learning curve was unique. But, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think I had kind of the opposite deal where Champ Car was my first race ever. It was the 14-hour at the Charlotte Roval. And nobody wanted to pay for the test day beforehand, so we literally didn't have a test day. And I hopped out there in an MX-5, same setup as yours. It was dark, it was raining, it ended up raining 4 inches that day, but didn't crash. And we ended up getting second in class. And then I did a lot of Champ Car, some WRL, some AER. My first sprint race, though, was in SCCA and then HSR. And so I know HSR, it's not as blistering as what you can get in some of those club levels, but it was still pretty sketchy, I thought. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's always an interesting wrinkle in the sprint races because of the chaotic nature of it, but there's also the added wrinkle of HSR racing where you're doing it inches from cars that are so unique that the number and the price doesn't matter, right? But there are times when, I was this past race with HSR and I'm right behind this gorgeous Jaguar E-Type and I'm feeling racy in my head, and then I have to remind myself, hey, let's not touch metal with something that's probably, 50 times the value of this little RX-7 I'm in. So, it's the chaos is neat, but I'll tell you, the endurance thing was, for me, was just wildly different coming from, first of all, a platform with that RX-7 that we'll get to talk about later. I've been driving that car for 4 straight years, the only thing I've really been in, and then quickly hopping to an MX-5 at a track I'm not overly familiar with. My test day left me more nervous than anything. I wasn't quite comfortable in the car ergonomically, was learning the setup of that car. It drives differently, was trying to learn the track. So I came into the endurance race the following day with a little bit of nerves, and hell, I think I even had a mild panic attack right when I hopped in the car.
It was also hot.
It's so different. You're jumping the wall with your visor down. It's hot. It's a whole new sensational experience for someone that's just used to hopping in casually ahead of a sprint race. And I get out there, and then I realize, hey, I'm not 30 minutes to getting back out. You've got to really pace yourself and challenge yourself to play a little bit more chess. But truthfully, I learned that in hindsight. I went out there with a little bit too much pace and really did a number on the tires in my first stint. But that was the biggest thing for me, was learning the patience, and the pace of endurance is quite different.
Yeah, totally. No, and I think I had to be 19 or 20. and so I couldn't afford it if I wrecked the car, right? And so
Yeah.
it was good if I was in endurance that I could kind of lean on that idea of like take it easy, take care of the car. Nobody's expecting you to have the fastest lap out here. They expect you to come back with some good tread on the tires and pass it off to the next driver. So I think anytime a driver can start with that endurance mindset, I mean,
Yeah.
you're only learning how
Yeah.
to take care of the car.
Yeah, you can only look back on your own experiences, right? Because they're all going to be unique and different. But for me, it was like trying to pull the reins on a horse the entire for hour and a half the first time I was in the car. I think my other two stints, we stretched it to the full 2 hours, but it was like constant reminders of like, whoa, take it easy. This is not, time to go make a blistering lap and try to impress somebody. You've got to bring it home in one piece.
Yeah. So what did you feel when, because it's multi-class, right? And the champ deal, it's not quite as like hardcore multi-class as HSR or WRL, where you got GT4 cars, screaming behind you. But what was that like managing traffic?
Yeah, managing traffic was really intense for me, more so in the nighttime because again, I was still trying to learn the track. But I'm trying to get a grasp for who's in my class.
Yep.
What is their pace like? Where are they strong? Where am I strong? Which cars in different classes seem to be very, very slow. There was a few cars out there that were huge deltas, even for an MX-5, believe it or not. And so I kind of felt like if I gave up if I let somebody pass me with the MX-5 being a momentum car like it was really going to be detrimental to our strategy. So I was kind of laser focused on getting as many positions as I can. I didn't really feel like the traffic was too hectic during the day, but certainly at nighttime, it becomes so much more when you've got a lot more than 8,000 lumens. Let's be real. I know that's the rule set, but it looked like there was a million lumens in my windows and mirrors at nighttime. So that was really the unique challenge. And it was there was some moments there where I was thankful for cars behind me because it provided a little extra headlight that maybe we didn't have. But yeah, that was certainly a level of chaos that you just don't get in the sprint races.
Yeah, totally. No, I remember in your stint, we went up and watched you in Hogpen, and you jumped like every time you'd come around, you had passed an E30, and then you passed an E36, and then there was a Mustang, and then I saw an E46 had passed you, but by and large, you're putting in work. You had some good stuff going on.
Yeah, I was really starting to feel that car again, as I've alluded to before. It's like I was trying to not overdrive the car, but I'll tell you, coming from a car that's as old as I am, which is tough pill to swallow at this point with my RX-7, that suspension geometry is antiquated. It's nearly 40 years old, and so I'm in a car those MX-5s these days, what these guys are able to do with those cars is unbelievable, and I totally understand why there's a lot of Kool-Aid to be drank with the MX-5 Club because it's a fantastic car to drive quick. It's fun. It's a blast. It's very zippy, and as I got comfortable, that section back there at Hogpen and the roller coaster into Hogpen, to me, might be more enjoyable than the S's. The S's are a blast, but I really like throwing that car around through the Hogpen. That's a neat turn.
Yeah, I've not raced at VIR. I've done quite a few track days there, and I'd rather, when the tires are heated up and the car's hooked, I'd rather, test it in Hogpen and roller coaster versus the S's. Especially, like, coming from like a low horsepower momentum style, whether it's E46, E30, MX-5, 944s.
That momentum car like that, to me, Clay, is where if you come out of Hogpen with the right run and you're leaning heavy on those lefts and you come around, it just feels there's a difference between the good lap and the bad lap. You can tell when you're on those rails coming out of that, because when you butcher that corner with a low horsepower car like mine, it's like you start doing the rowboat shake trying to get up the straightaway. But that's a good corner for sure. Yeah, no, I
felt that in HSR. I hadn't been on that car in like actual sticker. I was in an E30, so it was a spec E30. I didn't race spec E30 because it was too pretty. But I raced it in HSR and some SCCA stuff. But there were a few other spec E30s and a couple like classed cars out there with us in HSR, and I'd never actually been on like real like stickered slicks. I'd always had takeoffs, and so went out there. We scrubbed them in on qualifying, and then I think it was the Sasco Sports International where you've got like 70 cars out there.
Yeah.
And first lap went great. I kept up with everybody. Second lap, and I say kept up, I mean we stayed within like a car length of each other, all the E30s. But that second lap, I was ready to just set back and do the endurance thing, and then I realized that's not what these guys are about to do.
Nobody's waiting on you.
No. And I remember coming out of turn 7 at Road A and doing the same thing. I'm like just trying to give the car some type of momentum. But it's too much fun, especially, I don't know, I have most of my seat time is in an MX-5 and an NC, and so I don't know, I think if you can drive one of those quick, you can hop in just about anything. I mean, that's the goal, right?
Yeah, I think that should be an entry. Everybody should drive one at least once, and if it's not the first thing you drive, you might question your choices on buying a different car. I certainly have some of that. I won't say regret, but I have an RX-7. It's just a very different car, and sometimes it's a challenge in the paddock when you need something that might feel like a quite common part for me. But there's just nobody there to swap parts with. And that's what I've always kind of liked about the Miata is not only is it a great car, it's a great platform, but my God, the fraternity in the paddock for those guys, you could probably build an extra Miata or two out of those guys' parts bins at some of these races.
Yeah, easily.
It's a great car. And honestly, I could see myself either in an NC or even an RX-8 one day. I think the RX-8 is a very similar chassis to that NC, just a little longer, and being the rotary head I am, it might be the next natural fit. So we'll have to see.
I think people also there's a couple parts off the RX-8 that, like the front knuckles and the hubs, people usually grab those. If you can just grab the whole knuckle, it should mount right up to the NC. And then you got, a little bit bigger brake kit. And I think the hubs are more robust. So I think RX-8 would be a sweet build.
Yeah, well, I know you and I have spoken before about, being an RX-7 guy, I'm already different, kind of against the grain with my interest there. And you had mentioned before that you have interest in like doing funky swaps into different cars. And that's always been one of my, I sit here in daydreams. I'm like the engine and chassis Frankenstein project car. And though it may not seem too out of sorts, I think a rotary NC would be like the coolest
that would be
for me. We'll just have to see if we can make something like that work in the future.
Yeah, so my goal, and I keep it here on my desk, I used to daily drive an E46 Sim3. I would love to take S54 out of this and put it in a 2002.
Yes.
You can see that, right?
Yes.
That would just be nutso. I know there's a couple guys who've done it with an M54 B30, and that's what's in my E46 build now. The S54, obviously, individual throttle bodies, it screams up red lines at 9,800 RPM. Like, it's just a little bit different beast. So it'd be pretty sweet.
Yes.
But tell me about your RX-7, because I'm a BMW guy. I know nothing about Mazdas, like zero.
Yeah, I've got really an attachment to these cars, and like everyone's got an origin story. Mine was, being 16 and flipping through the Auto Trader every week, and I remember finding a second generation RX-7, a Turbo 2 model, in downtown Richmond where I grew up. And so I took my dad. I said, we've got to go test drive this car. This is what I've wanted. And around, and he was like, this car is way too fast for you. Not a chance am I buying this for my 16-year-old. Smart move.
Yep.
But it definitely lit a fire in me. And I was like, those are the cars I want. I have to have something like that because my dad said no. And so I found one in 2013. It was a really clean car, one owner. I became the second owner when I purchased it. And then before moving from Virginia to Georgia, I sold that car, for trying to put it towards the down payment on the house. And lo and behold, a year later, the guy was like, hey, I'm moving on to a different platform. You can buy it back. So became the second and fourth owner of this RX-7. And right away, I was like, hey, I got a second chance with this car. We're going to go nuts and do a three-rotor and do a big turbo and get it painted and really just build the car that I wanted since I was that 16-year-old kid.
Yep.
And those types of projects, just talking about, crazy engine swaps, it's a lot of time, it's a lot of money, for a moment after COVID, when parts were hard to get, I was kind of losing hope on it, and looked for a race car, and there was the E-Production RX-7 that I have now, and was just like, I've got to have this, and it's something tangible that I can get in and drive right now. So I cut my teeth on that car starting February 21, 2 weeks before my second daughter was due. So it was a risky purchase on my part. But we started out with that car and just tried to learn driving and learn being on track before we did anything to that car. I think I even took the slicks off and ran 200 tread wearers on it for the first 2 years, just wanting to learn driving. And it's an E-Production RX-7, so it was built for its SCCA's fastest production car class. It's a naturally aspirated 2-rotor, comes with a Weber carburetor, and it's very simple. Mechanically, those cars are very, very simple. There's a lot of misunderstanding about rotaries, I think, and luckily there's a big resurgence in the rotary community in the last few years where there's a lot more parts available and a lot more knowledge being shared. But quite frankly, the rotary engine is an extremely great racing motor. There are reliability questions when it comes to being a street car, only because it takes a different type of care and maintenance. But the reality is if you care and maintain it, it's a great car to have and can be daily driven. But, zero torque. I probably have more torque in my torque wrench to put the tires on. But very good horsepower, run about nearly 200 horsepower in that car. Can rev it to 9,200 RPM. There's power available to you around 6. And it's just like revving a dirt bike. I mean, just loves RPM. You got to wind it out. And that's the addiction that I love with those rotary engines. I mean, it's just the noise, the sensation of a tachometer getting to 9. It just feels cool, right? And anytime you drive a car that shoots fireballs out of the exhaust pipe when you downshift, that's the kind of thing you think of when you want to be in a race car. That's why I've always loved it.
Yeah. And what do they hit on like horsepower and torque numbers? And then what does it weigh?
The rotary engine is it's not really a loaded question, but it can be, because with the 2-rotor engine, what you play with is the way you can get air in. And so much like changing a cam or an intake manifold, those can have like drastic increases on your power. So if you have a certain type of port called a peripheral port, where the intake gases are fed right into the side or right into the combustion chamber, those motors can hit 350 horsepower. And turbocharged form, you can get much crazier. But with an E-Production RX-7, I think the guys that are really spending on some front runners are probably around 220, maybe a little higher in horsepower. But, for reliable, fun power, around 200 is really a good sweet spot, and I think that's about what mine's making now.
Yeah, that's wild. My E30, I might have had like 140, 150 in it. I never dynoed it. I didn't want to look at it, but
I hear the E30 guys talking about that power number, and it's so crazy. I mean, it's like aerodynamically, it's a brick. It doesn't make quite a lot of power, but those guys can turn some lap times with those cars. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah. I think my fastest in that at Road Atlanta was a 43.6. And, I mean...
Got me.
Well, it's sort of like... I don't know. I'll have to post it up. But I felt like I was going to die, especially in Turn 1. I remember just grooving up in there. I took an early apex and somehow just stood on it and kept it in. And Turn 5... I felt like I did a 4-wheel slide. Like, people do faster in those, right?
Sure.
But I think I was at the limit of my driving with that one. And that was on slicks. That was on R7s. So it probably had more in it, but...
I've always come into the sport knowing that I was probably on, the lower 10% of any budget when I arrived to the paddock. I rent a trailer and, do things quite like a privateer would in any series. And I say that because I've never had a new sticker set of tires. I've never had that. There's always been, call it an asterisk or an excuse on my lap times, but I've never been able to get the maximum amount of time out of that car simply because I've never had the budget to see what it could truly do. And I know that the guys that run E-Production RX-7s at Red Atlanta are probably in the mid 30s, and it's incredible what a good set of tires will do. I've just always kind of, begged, barred, and pleaded my way through the paddock, trying to get, I've gotten some great connections that have given me some spare parts, some scrub tires, but I do think that car probably has low 40s in it.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it does. I think, at 200 horsepower, like, I mean, that's going to beat me down the back straight, and it's up to, for me, like, I feel like I can set up a car pretty good, but it's, I talk with someone like Casey. We both know Casey Carden, obviously, and getting someone like him to actually set the car up, even just letting Charles do like an actual, like a
That's what you
string,
need.
a string alignment is gonna help a ton, which I'm
Yeah,
sure
and
you've done, but.
yeah, and a guy like Casey, when you bring him up, it's like I've been telling him over and over, I'd love to get him in the car just to get some thoughts and feedback. But I also, that's the piece of this sport that I would love to get better at. It's like, what do I
Yeah.
feel and what do I want to feel? And Casey and Charles both, they've done kart racing. They've always done a good job being able to like ask the right questions, because sometimes I may know the answer, but they just know how to pull it out of you. But yeah, proper setup is, I mean, makes worlds of difference. It's unbelievable when you get in a car after it's been properly aligned. You're like, oh, this is what it should feel like.
Yep.
And if you could get all those levers pulled into your advantage, fresh tires, new this, new that, I think that's where the race gets expensive, but that's where the lap times are had. But I'm just as happy battling for 12 mid-packet HSR going wheel to wheel with my buddies. And that's just the side of the sport that I've felt most comfortable in.
Yeah, no, and I think, I mean, by and large, I'm a budget racer as well, and I feel like, I know a lot of people would laugh at this, but I feel like that's true gentleman racing. It's the idea that we love this enough that we're going to sacrifice and hide receipts from our wives. Mine's cool, I don't actually hide from her. But, that we're going to get out here and make it happen, even though we don't have $100,000 to spend this season.
Right. Yeah. And I've always kind of prided myself in that. And certainly, if circumstances change for any of us, we'd always love to spend more and have the faster car. But, I really have learned a lot. And I got to tell you, one of the things I'm, in hindsight, a good benefit of having this race car while I'm trying to build this 3-rotor was, I've made some mistakes with the race car. I've broken some things. I've had to take it apart, and I've really come to know the chassis a whole lot better too in this process. And I think when you get a chance to wrench on your own stuff, you appreciate the work a whole lot more. But then you just feel a lot more connected to the car.
Yeah.
I don't like loading up on Sundays. I think a lot of people would be lying if they said that's their favorite part of the race weekend. But if I had the funds to do a proper arrive and drive, shit, I would.
Totally.
But I really do enjoy just kind of showing up and seeing what I can do with my effort and my knowledge and my budget. It's just a great sense of accomplishment just to go out there and finish the race, and I don't take that for granted. But yeah, I know that I don't spend to be at the front, but I want to go out there and enjoy every lap I can.
Yeah, no, totally. And that's my goal with this E46 is sort of the same deal. I've got this idea that I want it to be, I want to model it after the early World Tour Challenge cars.
Such a cool group of era cars.
Yeah, and I feel like they're getting lost to all the new stuff that's come out, right? If you're 20 years old today, you've probably never even like cared to watch PTCC or WTCC. So it'll be cool to kind of revive that a little. Obviously, I'm not putting a P54 in it, but it'll have the M54, and maybe we'll do like an M50 head on it and get a higher rev. But the goal there is I don't want to spec E46 just because, I mean, you can go buy one turnkey and they all look the same because they have to, and they do the same thing, and we know what you can squeeze out of that. Like Sandro Espinosa, Mark Issa, those guys were doing like 36, 37s at Road A, right? That's hauling ass. But my goal is to have something. I would love to get mid-30s, but it's to have something that I know how to work on. I dailied an E46 M3 for 5 years in college. I swapped, I feels like just about everything out on that car, maintenance-wise, in a parking lot, right? So I know it like the back of my hand, and ultimately, I don't know that there's a more budget-friendly car versus the E30, but the E46.
Sure. But I think the E46 chassis is probably becoming the new budget one. I mean, I've heard of guys picking up some of those chassis for incredibly low amounts of
Yep.
money, and it's great. The performance you can get out of those cars is phenomenal.
Yep. Yeah, I hate to even say this, but you saw how clean mine was, and I spent $3,500 on it.
Yeah,
Like, I don't think you could beat that. I've got it
no,
completely stripped out. I just test fitted some Sawbelt Tauruses today, and it's looking killer. I actually just uploaded a video of it before we got on here, but they're definitely. I mean, it's about as budget as you can get. But once it's tricked out, we got it going. I mean, the goal is to be able to do some like champ car in it with like
yeah.
us guys with the friends, right? And just have like a low lift, go have fun type of
The real
effort.
question, knowing that you're a design guy, and I'm always the same with my cars, is like, what's the livery? Because I know that's
Yeah.
going to be a big piece of this.
Yeah, no, totally.
I don't
So,
know if you're ready to share that, if you know
well,
yet.
I am. I've got a couple partners that want to wrap it. But my goal is we've got the BMW Financial Services livery on the WTCC car, right? And it's got all the buzzwords grayed out behind it. And then,
Right.
so if it's up to me and I don't have someone paying for it, it's going to be that exact livery, but it's going to say BMW Financial Mistakes.
That's great.
Yeah. Same Helvetica font. I might change up the buzzwords behind it, but by and large,
That's great. You're
it's
going to have to throw a couple funny buzzwords in there if that's the route you go, for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It'll be good. But I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. I designed the livery for my E30, and I've designed a few other liveries. If we just walked around the paddock, you might see one. I just do it in Photoshop, and then slide the file over. And I've got some guys out in Cumming that will wrap a car, and they don't charge an arm and a leg, and they do pretty good work. So, but no, it'll look good.
Yeah, the delivery is where I spend almost too much time thinking of what the car should look like, and
Yeah.
maybe I should spend more time on mechanics. But that's what you see, and that's I remember being a little kid, and that you like the cars that you like to look at, and
Yeah.
I always wanted my cars to look good, and that's why for me being an RX-7 guy, Tommy Kendall really got his career going in a first generation RX-7 with the Malibu Grand Prix car with
Yeah.
the legendary red arrow on the front hood. This is where I modeled my livery after, but. Yeah, I always feel like that's a fun and very big decision when it comes to putting your car together. It's like, hey, what's the livery going to be? That's
Yeah,
big.
no, totally. On my E30, I had all the trim painted glossy black, and then with that fresh Liqui-Moly livery, it was just. I mean,
It was a good looking
it
car.
was a good looking car. It was hard to beat.
Sure
right?
was. Yeah.
So, yeah, no. So we got Petit Le Mans coming up this week. I've been, almost every year for 12 years now. You were in that alley as well. So
Yeah.
let's tell the fans. Here's a little bit of what to expect if this is your first Petit Le Mans. And it's
Oh,
actually
boy.
it can turn into a 5-day event.
Oh, it certainly can. And I'm not quite up to you. I'm on year 7 in a row.
Okay.
My very first one. So my daughter was born on October 8th in 2019, and that was the Wednesday before Petit, and she came late, and we already had tickets. And so my wife, bless her, she's so generous. She was like, "You can leave and set up the tent." So my very first Petit was
Heck
just a few
yeah.
days after my child was born. It became a family tradition, and we go every year. To your point, what you're going to expect? Just an overwhelming sensation of sights and sounds. There is so much to do and see
Yep.
for folks, whether you're looking for car corrals because you like the car show type atmospheres. If you've got children and they want to go bounce around through the fan zone and see all the things, there's so many events. I mean, I always find that I don't know if it's Lexus or Hyundai or both, but one of the manufacturers always seems to have a sim, and that's a highlight of the week. You
Yeah.
got to go try the sim and put in a lap time at Road Atlanta.
Yeah, no, totally. BMW also has a sim. They usually have 2 or 3 in their chalet.
Yeah,
And I think a lot of people. So the idea is right. This is, It's a 10-hour. You show up, and you don't really know what to do, especially if you're not a race fan and you're just going because a friend has told you to, or somebody drug you into it, or you got free tickets, whatever. So you show up, and you don't know where to park. Buy the parking pass, right? Park inside. It's $80.
Yeah.
But and then you see all these nice hospitality places around, and you don't know how to get in, right? majority of these hospitality places, Mercedes, BMW, Porsche, Ferrari, insert fancy name here.
Right.
A majority of them will let you in if you give them your data. So if you give them your fake email,
Right.
give them your mom's phone number. They'll call her a couple times and ask if she wants to buy a Mercedes. But you can get in, likely get some free food, get a cool
Absolutely.
T-shirt, right?
Yeah, and take advantage of that stuff. I mean,
Totally.
there's so many different ones. To your point, you mentioned a lot of great manufacturers. I know Mustang being kind of newer into the
Yep.
GT3 realm last few years. They had a fantastic looking Corral last year, and I think it was even two floors. And I was walking up to it last year to kind of check it out, and a lovely pink shirt caught my eye, and I looked, and I was shoulder to shoulder with Derek Bell, and so it's just,
Yeah.
hello, Mr. Bell, good to see you. How you doing? These are the
Yeah.
types of things you can do when you run into a Petit Le Mans. You can just run into almost anybody of sports car royalty,
Yep.
and for the casual observer and the casual fan that may not be well versed in it, you might be walking by someone you don't recognize, but certainly take advantage of walking into the paddock, which
Yep.
is something you cannot do at a lot of other professional race series. The accessibility you can have to the cars and to the drivers is certainly unmatched. And
Yep.
we've got some friends coming into town for their second Petit Le Mans. And it's just a joy watching everyone enjoy what the experience is for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, if you come to Petite, you don't have to like racing,
Right.
but you gotta like having a good time and a good party because
Oh yeah,
that genuinely is what it comes down to.
yeah.
So I don't know the schedule this year. I think when is MX5 racing? Because that's typically I tell
These are
people.
great questions, and IMSA does a great job of mixing things up year after year. I
Yep.
think we kind of bounce back between Super Trofeo and Porsche Cup. I'm not sure which of those series or both we may get this year, but I know we have MX5 and certainly the Michelin Pilot Challenge,
Yep.
but I always look forward to MX5 racing. It's some of the best racing on the face of this earth.
Yep.
I don't know if Mazda would ever take my words and do much with it, but I do think they need to put some mufflers on those damn cars. It's brutal.
Of course.
But yeah, I think the other spec series that's gonna be exciting to watch is the Mustang Challenge. I mean, it's a spec series with some higher horsepower.
Yep.
I think it's a proper H pattern
Yep.
car, if I'm not
Yep.
mistaken. So watching those big beasts
Yeah.
funnel into 10A, 10B at the end of that race should be an exciting thing to watch,
Yeah.
regardless of whether you watch racing or not.
Yeah. No, totally. I agree there. And if you're watching and you don't like racing or we share a clip or whatever, spec racing means that every car is the exact same homologation, right? So the parts are the same horsepower, the same setup. There's only a couple places in the setup that they can tweak to the driver specifications. But by and large, the goal is to have the exact same cars in the field. And then it's up to the driver to see how well they can perform, right? And if you go watch like MX5 on their Instagram channel, here in the last like 7 days, they've been doing like the top 7 finishes or top 10 finishes at Road Atlanta. And
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think there are better finishes in racing than seeing like 4 MX5s come down side by side in turn 12.
No, I don't get it. I was in the Fall Historics for HSR just a couple weeks ago,
Yeah.
and finished one of the races side by side with Trefford and his badass Corvette, and we were 2 cars, and again, maybe it's the value of that car next to me, but I was like, this is not a lot of space for us.
Yeah.
And then you watch these MX5 guys, and they are just door to door, banging mirrors, and going 3 wide down turn 12 at Road Atlanta, and that's just got to be the most fun. But yeah, those drivers are certainly very brave souls.
Yeah, they got something else going on.
They sure do. Yeah, they're
Anywho,
impressive.
well, I'll catch you down there. I'm excited. I think I'm landing on Thursday morning. I'll be up by lunch.
Likewise.
And we'll be out there. We'll get another video for sure.
Well, to your point, if you're not watching racing, you're probably tailgating, which is what I'll be doing. So
Yeah.
come on by. We'll have some food and beers going for you, and look forward to seeing you there.
All right. I appreciate it. Thanks for your time.